Go for it.
Welcome everybody to Adam's Polish's Wednesday Live. I'm actually trying to talk a little bit quieter right now. Hopefully it's loud enough for you guys. There's a warehouse meeting like right over here. I don't think they're run yet, so it should be done any minute. Just kind of getting my stuff situated right now. Sorry we're a little late. Trying to be respectful of that meeting, but pretty excited today. We have this really cool touring motorcycle. I think it's a Grand. What did he call it, Chris? An American Grand Touring, I think is what he called it. This is Kane's bike. He actually, their meeting just finished, so now I can talk. Thanks, Tyler. But this is Kane's bike. He's like the warehouse manager. He like oversees the whole warehouse here at Adam's Polishes. And he grew up riding motorcycles his whole life. And he brought this in because, as you can see, we've been doing some stuff on some motorcycles. His bike is scratched. So we had talked about doing paint correction on a 2006 Toyota Tundra. I actually I finished that car already. I did a one-step polish on it. I'll be honest, it was more oxidation removal than it was like removing scratches because it was so dirty. And just like, it had single stage paint on it, so it oxidized over time. So it looked really, almost looked matte wrapped, to be honest with you. And after doing a one-step polish on that with the purple one-step polish we have and the blue foam pad, it really brought it back. Like, it looked incredible. I used this one with our one-step polish, but unfortunately I couldn't. The guy needed the car back, so I wasn't able to do it here on the live. But Kane had his bike in here yesterday, and I said, Kane, why have you never polished this black paint? Because you can see scratches everywhere. And he was like, oh, you know, it's just like my Cruiser or whatever. I was like, I'm gonna do it on the live then. So we're gonna work on the saddlebags. We'll work on the gas tank a little bit. But what I wanted to show you is just the paint correction process. So I'll kind of explain to you how I like to approach it. And then we'll also show you, I have the micro set up with the power cord adapter, so like I can run the micro polisher at all times. So that's one thing I love about this cord adapter is this is normally a battery powered, and in the kit it comes with 2 batteries, but if it's something you're constantly using all the time, you can throw this on there, the cord comes out, plug it in, then you can just use it, you know, for however long you want until you don't pay your electric bill. But yeah, so this is gonna be our paint correction deal today. I know it's not a car, we don't normally work on motorcycles, but I think the thing about Adam's Polishes is it's not biased to any sort of motor vehicle. It works on boats, planes, motorcycles, Hot Wheels, you know, all kinds of stuff. But obviously we work on cars the most. But listen, the one thing I want you to understand is, like, even though I'm using the mini polisher, this process of paint correction is the same across the board for anything that you're working on. And what I want to explain to you while we do this process is like why some of the decisions I make is really like what I'm going to be talking about a lot. So, and remember, hopefully this topic can help you, but if you have questions, I want to be able to answer them to the best ability that I have. So, yeah, any questions?
Let's pause for 1 second.
Yeah. Yeah, let me know. I know there's delay, but let me know if you can hear me okay. I got the mic right here and then my pack's in my pocket, but just let me know. I need like 2 more things, Chris. Man, I'm so unorganized today. Please don't judge me, everybody.
Always judging you.
Always judging me, okay. I'll just use that, that's fine. Chris, did you show him the damage on here?
I did a little bit.
I think if you go here and look up at those lights up there, it's a little bit easier. Is everyone saying they can hear me okay?
They said the video is lagging, but that's because I had to close YouTube for a second to check things. So everybody, once you hear this, please tell us if you can hear us better.
Hey, Anton's here. Is it only me or is the video lagging? It is lagging because we had to jump off the app really quick, but listen, it wouldn't be Adams Polish's Wednesday live video if there wasn't technical difficulties.
Yep. Anton says much better audio now.
Okay, good. Hopefully the video is not lagging as much either. Okay, so I'll just jump right into this. I'm actually gonna grab this towel. So it's a little bit dusty. I could easily do waterless wash, but I have detail spray with me. And I think the part of this too is like, I'm gonna correct it anyways. So whether you use detail spray or waterless wash to get the dust off, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm just gonna take the detail spray. Again, when these products, sprays like this and a lot of product is best. What you wanna do is a little bit further away, spray. You want some nice mists like that. So I'm just gonna wipe this off really quick. So we have a just let me know if people have questions, Chris.
Chester says, Joe, when are you going to do a video putting advanced coating on thick? I'm going to do my second coat the first week of April, weather allowing.
That's a good question. Yeah, I think to be honest, so Chester said, when are you going to do a live video on putting the coating on thick? You know, I think like the thing about it is like the coating. The thing about the coating is like it's designed to go on as a thin layer. So, you know, I even say like I think it's fine to do a second coat, but it's a little unnecessary. Like the coating is designed to cure in a way that just one coat should last an extended period of time. You know, depending on which one you're doing, you know, we're talking like, you know, 2, 5, and 9 years, depending on the product you're using. So I think for me, like a second coat seems a little redundant. I think more like getting one coat on there and then maintaining it the proper way, I think is a better way to think about it, you know? So doing your, you know, after you get the ceramic coating on, like a 2-bucket wash, very important. You know, even using regular car shampoo or mega foam is totally fine. It's more using like graphene shampoo for specific reasons. You know, when you get caught in a rainstorm and there's oil residue on the car from, you know, exhaust getting mixed with the rain, and road film is more like the term, what people would say. But, you know, I think doing the maintenance is really what's going to keep your ceramic coating going for a longer time. And then instead of trying to put so much work up front with like 2 coats, you know, early on, put 1 coat on, maintain it for a few years. And then when you get to that point where the hydrophobic properties aren't what you want, then reapply it later. You know, because I think the part for me too is that, yes, our graphene ceramic coating advance is intended to last 9 years on your car, but it doesn't tell you what your car looks like after 3 years. So ceramic coatings are very durable, but they're not like exempt from getting swirl marks or scratches. So, you know, after like 3 years or so, you could go ahead and correct it. And even like the 1-step polish with this blue pad is a really easy way to correct a ceramic coating and get it to like your car looking great, like, you know, swirl marks and things like that, and then reapply it, you know? So, you know, I think if you want to do it, Chester, to do it, but I think like for you, the don't overthink it too much, you know, just keep it simple, you know, because here's the thing, I'm just going to tell you this. When you think of the grand scheme of things of like, you know, I think of detailing.
Okay.
Better?
Okay.
Better? Years. That's how we do mic checks here. But anyways, I was saying like I think of detailing as like 3 separate phases. Like phase 1 is getting your car perfect. So I think of that as like the perfection phase. So that's really like, you know, using strip wash to strip any old protection off, claying it, decontamination, iron remover, and then polishing, compound and polishing, which is like what we're going to be doing today. And then kind of the second phase to me is protection. Like what type of protection agent are you going to use? You know, if you're doing ceramic coating, there's a whole process to that. And then the third phase is the maintaining part, which is, you know, washing your car, 2-bucket wash or waterless washing or hoseless wash, doing all the maintenance stuff. And I would say, like, out of the 3 phases, 90% of the time you're doing the maintenance part of it. That's washing your car and maintaining it. You know, so, you know, you're going to ceramic coat once. If you use the advanced, maybe once every 2 or 3 years. But every other week in between that, you're washing the car, you know? So dialing in your washing process is more important than, you know, obviously like the paint correction and ceramic coating is important, but if your washing process and the fundamentals to that are not dialed in, you end up working against yourself in the long run. You know, that means you have to then correct and protect it like more often. Whereas if you dial in your maintenance process, it makes it a lot easier. So there's a lot of emphasis in our industry on paint correction and ceramic coating. And it's like the 2 things that people don't do very often. The washing, you know, cleaning your engine regularly, how you clean your wheels, how you wash your car. To me, that is like the most important fundamentals of detailing or even DIY detailing. So
Got an
that's
engine bay cleaning question.
engine bay clean. Yes, please.
You just mentioned it.
Engine bay cleaning question.
Rodney says, would there be a reason to not use the new bedroom restorer under the hood on hoses, plastic covers, engine area, firewall, etc.?
Rodney said that. So Rodney asked, like, is there any reason not to use, or why you can't use bedliner restorer on the engine bay, like on the hoses and stuff?
Yep.
Rodney, you absolutely can use that under there. It's like it's a dressing, you know, but I think for me, like, it's great. Like, I would say bedliner restorer is maybe a little bit more durable than like VRT, which is a great product. VRT is a great product for under the hood. Like, a mixture of VRT and in and out spray is like the OG way of dressing your engine, because the VRT you can get on the big broad surfaces, and then in and out spray is essentially like the aerosol version of VRT, and that you can, you know, it's a cloud coming out of an aerosol bottle that goes into all the accordion hoses and everything. I personally like to set a foundation of graphene ceramic spray coating first, so like the water beads like crazy, and if I need to restore the color, then I do the VRT and in and out spray process in between. But bedliner restorer could work great. You know, I think I would.
It says I usually use graphene tire dressing.
Yeah, graphene tire dressing is good too. I think it just depends on the look you want. If you want it a little bit shiny, then I think graphene tire dressing is pretty good. But if you want it to look like original, like it came from the factory, rolled off the line, there's no shine in it. And so that's why, like, I think most people would opt for VRT or in and out spray, because it doesn't provide any shine, just provides color richness, you know. But I think for me, like, the reason why the graphene spray coating I love is that it makes cleaning it easier. And anytime you can make something easier to clean, it means it's more efficient. You don't have to spend as much time doing it. Not that I don't like cleaning stuff. I don't want to spend a extended amount of time. I also don't have any time personally, because I coach my son's baseball and his basketball, and help with my wife coach my daughter's volleyball. It's just like, I don't have a lot of time. So I want it to be,
Make it faster.
yeah, I just want it to be a little bit faster. But here's the thing. Some people do have time and they get therapy from doing the detailing. So like, whatever the process you enjoy, or products, like I think for Rodney, whatever product you love, the way your engine looks after you're done cleaning it and dressing it, use the product that you love. Okay, I just want to say that. All right. There's
Dan in the sorry.
No, go ahead.
Dan in the comments just said, one fun tip: graphene tire dressing on the stream setting works great for the belt squeal in the engine bay.
Oh.
Ask me how I know.
Yeah, nice, exactly. That's Dan Tiger.
Yeah.
Dan Tiger has a solution for everything. Okay.
I really like them.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into this polishing process. So I'm starting with the mini polisher. This is the 12 millimeter. And 12 millimeter just means like how far this travels from side to side as the orbit. And that's the thing about our polishers, is that they're non-forced rotation. This backing plate is free spinning both ways, but it is a forced orbit. So that means like the actual like center of this the actual center of the mechanism is like right here, and it's offset. I think it's offset by like 6 millimeters, so it travels 6 millimeters that way, and then all the way over here to create the 12 millimeter from side to side. But because it's non-force, it doesn't generate as much heat, and then you don't burn through the paint. So I show this at car shows a lot, and people look at me like I'm insane, but you can, sure, granted, I will run it at a slower setting, at like setting 2, like that, speed setting 2. And I can turn this on and actually like hold on to the, it's not gonna fling my hand off because it's non-forced rotation. Like I could actually spin this while it's orbiting, so it creates it's a very safe tool to do your paint correction process. Like Adam always says in his clinics, is like, the only way you could damage this paint right here is if you flip this over and boom, you hit it like that, okay? So very effective tool. And I think the thing to think about too is a lot of these tools are designed the same way. Like a lot of the, even our competitors have tools like this. The thing that separates a good tool from a non-effective tool is the way it's balanced would be one thing. So, our pads we specifically shape these pads to go with these machines. So as you're using it, your pad's not like wobbling everywhere. You're not like holding on for dear life. It has a slow start, so it makes it really easy to control when you start the machine. It has more than enough power to do the correction, but really the thing that is doing all the work is the things inside of these bottles, so compound and polish. Those are the things that the abrasive inside of those is what makes it super effective. And then the way that these pads are designed. I've shown people this before, but if any of you have like our polishing system, you could try this. But essentially, like if I take this and I try to blow air through the side of this foam pad, like I can blow air through it. And it's designed like that because when you're using compound, it's a bigger abrasive. So it can generate more heat. Not so much heat you're gonna burn through, but you want airflow going through this pad to keep it cool, maybe keep it more warm so you can do your work. But if you switch to our white polishing pad, which goes with the white product, I can't blow through this. So this pad actually is an open cell foam, and this is a closed cell foam. And the reason why you want a closed cell foam for the polishing is that it keeps the polish at the very top surface. So it helps break that down and refine the abrasive down so you get that mirror finish. But also you're not generating as much heat with polish because the abrasive is not as aggressive. So they're like designed in a very specific way, and then when you get into like your, our wool pads and our microfiber pads, it's a thinner profile. So when you put pressure on it, it doesn't absorb as much of the pressure, but also this microfiber is glued onto the foam. So like the polish doesn't seep into the foam, right? So it keeps the polish in these fibers, which makes it more effective. So very, very design specific to do things, to do the paint correction process, So when we get into this, so obviously the first step is you want this to be clean. So I just sprayed and wiped this down with detail spray first. Now when it comes to our polishing system, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with this, but ours is a 2-step system, okay? And the 2 steps is you start with compound and you finish with polish. But the thing about our system is that for our most basic part of the system, the compounding step, you have to make a decision in the beginning. So you have either a microfiber pad or a blue foam pad, and they're color coded to the blue compound. And if you can't remember or you're colorblind, you flip it around, it says what product is supposed to be used. So this says compound on the back. So does this one say compound on the back. Now, the white polish, even though this looks yellow because it's been exposed to UV, but this is supposed to just, if you get it new, it's pure white, but this also says polish on the back, so it goes with the polish. So the reason why it's a 2-step system is after you make your choice of which pad and compound combo corrects all the damage, then it will leave some marring, is like what we like to call it, which is just haziness. You can actually see it looks kind of hazy, but it's like in the pattern of the way your polisher moves. The polish cleans that up and puts it to a mirror finish. So, and there's some techniques on like what speed setting to run it at and do all these other things. So I'm going to go through that here in a second. But what I like to do is, the microfiber pad, we're not going to talk about the wool pad too much. That's like a whole separate thing I can get into later on a different live video. But the microfiber pad is the most aggressive for cutting. And that's what compounding is cutting. Meaning when you're cutting, you're removing a lot of the scratches and the damage. Okay, so what I like to do is I always start with the blue foam. And when I go through this process, what I don't want to do is just jump into it and go start compounding the whole motorcycle or car, because if I go and I start compounding it and maybe this pad is too aggressive, the marring might be too severe to where the polish can't fix it, right? What I like to do is I like to do a test area first, starting with the blue foam. And if I go through this process and the blue foam cuts through all the damage I'm trying to remove, then I know that the white foam will clean it up and make it look perfect. So there's no reason for me to start at most aggressive. I want to start kind of least aggressive in the compounding step. And if I need to bump up, I can. So that's why I start with the blue foam. So, if you're doing this on a car, I recommend doing it in an area where you feel most comfortable. I personally tend to do it, when I was working on the 2006 Tundra, like it's lifted. It had like a 3-inch lift on it, so I couldn't access the hood. So I just picked a spot on the front fender to where it was like comfortable for me to work. And actually, because I was doing one step, I did multiple areas to figure out what result looked the best. And then once I figured that out, then I just took that and I did it to the whole car. So essentially what I'm trying to do, we call it, I think in the industry, you call it a test spot. I like to call it a research area because I'm kind of getting the data points of the way it looks to get to a point that I'm comfortable with that I can do to the rest of the car. And in this case, a black motorcycle, I want this to be perfect. So we start with the blue foam and the blue compound, okay, because they're color coded. And so what I'm going to do actually is I'm only going to work on half of the top of this saddlebag, okay? Because if I'll be able to see the results on this side, and then what I can do is if it's not quite where I want to get it, I want to start on a fresh area, so then I can move to the microfiber on this side and see the results I get. And this is going to be a little bit different doing it on a motorcycle. So how much compound or polish you put on this pad kind of determines how large of an area you can work in. I don't want to over apply the compound onto this pad because I don't have a big surface area to work on. This is a very small area. So normally what I would do is I'd make a cross on here. I'd put a line of compound here and a line of compound here, and then I would go start doing it on a fender of a car. But because I'm working in such a smaller area, I'm only going to do one thin line like that. I don't need to over apply the compound to the pad. Now with your cord, this is very important. If I just start compounding like this, the cord could drag against the motorcycle or the car if I'm working on a car, which can scratch the car. So before I even start, I want to get this in an area that it's not going to drag on the motorcycle. And I'm going to put this over my shoulder. So where I'm working here, it's not going to drag against the motorcycle. And by the way, the seat I'm sitting on, I'm sure everyone's familiar. It's a Viper chair, a really cool company out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Super, super high premium shop chair that has the huge casters. I mean, this thing is amazing. And we have 3 different varieties here at Adams Polishes. I like this one the best because it has the back to it. So can like lounge a little bit, So we're going to go ahead and start compounding. So first what you want to do is we're going to spread this out, okay? If you don't spread it out, it can sling all over the motorcycle, and because I have this leather here, I don't want to stain this with slinging any compound onto it. So I like to spread this out first, and I don't want to ruin my really cool Adams Polishes t-shirt that I designed. Okay, and when I first get into this, I like to start to setting 4 speed settings on the back of the machine. It goes from 1 and goes all the way up to 6. I start on setting 4. I'll tell you this right now, I generally don't ever make it to 6. Sometimes I make it to 5. I probably use setting 5 more when I'm doing a one-step polish, but I'm more on kind of the 4 and 3 settings when I'm doing, like, you know, the compounding and polishing stuff. So setting 4. When you start doing this process, make sure the pad is touching the surface you're gonna compound or polish. You don't wanna start it like this, okay? If you start it like this and this starts free spinning, it can ruin your pad, but it can also throw the polisher out of balance. So you wanna make sure and start it on the surface. I've talked about this many times on the live video, but I sort of think about polishing, call it the 4 P's of polishing. I think there's a 5th one in there that I can never remember. But the 4 P's of polishing, essentially, P number 1 is pressure. Like, how hard do you push down while you're doing this, okay? On, I think, both of our machines, especially this one, there's the Adams logo right here, kind of like a version of it. You put your thumb on that, how hard you can push with your thumb is how much pressure you put on it. So it's like, you can call it the rule of thumb, is what we call it. That's the first P of polishing, is the pressure, okay? The second P of polishing, I say plane, which is like the plane, meaning like, is the polisher off plane or is it on plane of the area that you're polishing? So, you know, I don't want to be polishing like this, okay? But if I come down here, I want to make sure I'm flat to the surface that I'm working on, okay? So second P of polishing is plane. The third P of polishing is pace. How fast do I move as I do this, okay? This is not rotary buffing. So like, if I'm rotary buffing, I'm like going like this, right? Moving really fast because I'm trying to avoid causing too much heat while I do the process. In this case, I move about this fast. You'll see when I start getting into it. Move about this fast, okay? And then the fourth P of polishing is pattern, okay? I think what a lot of people want to do, I've seen this when we do demos at shows, is they want to go like in circles like this. I think it's like a natural thing that people want to do. What you want to do is, oh, I remember the 5th one, Chris. Imagine that. But your pattern is you're going to crosshatch. So you go in a straight line this way, you overlap by 5 or 10%, like you're mowing your lawn, and then you come back, you go up, you come back, and then you go this way. That's the pattern. That's the fourth P of polishing. Okay? The 5th P of polishing, which I finally remembered, is called passes. How many passes do I do? Okay, so if I go side to side like this, and then I go up and down, that's one pass. That's what I consider one pass. Some people would say side to side is one pass and up and down is one pass, but I like, when I think of cross hatching, that means side to side and up and down. So to me, that's one pass. Okay, so the 5th P of polishing is how many passes do I do? In this case, with compound, I like to do 2 passes. So that's side to side, up and down, 1, side to side, up and down, 2. Okay. When you do a one-step polish, you need to give it more time for the abrasive to break down. So I do 3 passes instead of 2. Sometimes 4, but mainly 3 passes instead of 2. So,
Anton says 6 is patience. Don't hurry the process.
yeah, there you go. I like that. So that's what Anton, I'm adding that to, and I'm stealing that from you, okay? Anton said, in the 6th P of polishing is patience. This is not like how fast can you get it done. This is, and I'm gonna add a 7th, okay? I'm gonna add a 7th for you, Anton. It's called perfection, okay? You have to have patience to get perfection. This is not about how fast you can get it done. This is about how perfect we can get this. Okay, so there we go. We have 7 P's now.
Do you want to list them off again real quick?
I can't remember what they are. In no particular order, the
Pressure.
6 P's of polishing is pressure, the rule of thumb, so how hard you can push with your thumb, okay? And I mean, realistically, like the best way to grip this is you put these 3 fingers underneath this handle right here. You can put this one up top, and then you can push with your thumb as you do this. I've been doing this for so long that I actually like to hold it like this. And actually, like, I drew a mark. I took a Sharpie marker and drew a mark on the backing plate so I can manage like how fast this is spinning. I don't want it spinning too fast and I don't want it spinning too slow. So I'm more monitoring this than I am doing anything else. So pressure and then plane. So like keeping the pad flat on the surface. That's probably one of the most important things. Pressure is whatever. Pressure really determines how effective you're being. The plane, like how flat the pad is on the surface you're compounding or polishing, that's probably one of the most important things. What's the next one, Chris? Pace, how fast you move. Okay, we're not moving really fast. We're moving slow. Pattern, that's like the cross-hatching pattern, not in circles, not straight lines all the time. Side to side and up and down, which goes to the neck. The fifth P, which is passes. How many passes do you do? I say 2. So up and down and side to side equals 1 pass. Okay, and then the fifth P, the sixth P, which is what Anton has added to it, is patience. Don't rush this process. And I wish there was, I would say like instead of another P, I'll add 1 A to it, and that's anger. Don't ever polish angry. Okay, and if you get like fatigued and you start to lose your patience or lose your focus, just stop and take a break and then come back to it when you're ready to do it. Okay? So,
Speaking of patience, Will says, how about you show and tell at the same time?
sorry. Is that Will at B&B?
Will Kearney.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Will. I talk too much, by the way. Just a warning for this whole live video.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Ready? Turn the polisher on.
Talk a little louder.
That's about 1 pass. I'm starting my second pass right now.
David says, key number 8 is pizza when you're all done.
I like that. David said that? David said the 8th P is pizza. I'm going to say pie, because you can either get pizza or you can get apple pie.
Anton says pizza and pasta.
There you go. Pizza, pasta, pie, pierogies, whatever floats your boat. You know what I mean?
So it's now like the 13 P's.
Yeah. We're going to have a whole PDF on the P's of polishing. Okay, so I did 2 passes. Now I'm going to wipe this off. We're going to see where we're at with this, okay? So wipe this off. Long, fast swipes is probably the best way to do it. Oh my gosh, Chris. Ooh, pretty close. There's some like really deep scratches in here. I left some of the compound on here so you can see like where I stopped. That's pretty good, man. Here's the thing about paint correction is that paint comes in a lot of different material. Like, I don't know or hardnesses, I would almost say, but paint is not consistent across the board again of every motor vehicle. That boats have gel coat, some cars have single stage paint, some cars have clear coat, some cars are custom painted, so they have a ton of paint on them. Some cars from the factory, especially in 2025 and moving forward, have less paint than they ever have before. And so that's partially why like doing a test spot is really going to give you a sense of like, like for me, the fact that we removed that much damage with the foam pad and the blue foam pad in the compound, to me is telling me that this paint's very soft. Okay. If I did that and like barely any of the damage was removed, it would tell me that the paint's really hard. Okay, so you just have to get a feel for it. That like, this is gonna sound very weird, and this might mean that I've worked here for too long, but like, the vehicle is gonna tell you what it needs, right? It's like detailing sign language. Like you do something and then you wipe it off, and the paint's like, oh man, that was so much better. Like, you really fixed a lot of stuff for me, you know? And it's the same thing. We have a video called, I think it's like, listen up, listen to what what is your ceramic coating telling you? Same thing, like when you spray it with water, it's gonna react in a certain way that is telling you like what product you should grab and use. And so really what you need to do is like, you need to be kind of working with it to understand what it needs. And the other thing is like, if you get over aggressive, it's just not necessarily worth it. But I think to show you guys on this video, I'm gonna do the microfiber on this side so we can see kind of a difference between the two. But I don't know if Chris, did you show him like kind of yeah, the before and after, like what we removed, but like this is like how we started, what type of damage that's in there and like where we made it. And another thing that I actually learned this from an amazing detailer. It's called Aloha Detailing in Colorado Springs, and he spends a lot of time in Hawaii, but his name's Kerwin Miyashiro. By the way, I'm always jealous of his Instagram page because he's always in Hawaii eating like poke and all this like amazing fish. And shout out to Kerwin because I've actually learned a lot from him. But one thing he'll do is like, I remove a lot of the surface scratches, like swirl marks and minor scratches, but like I see one big ding like right here of like a deeper scratch. What you can do is as you're going through this process, you can always put like a little bit of compound on your finger like this, just like barely a little bit like that. And what I can do is once I find that scratch, instead of having to search for it all the time, I can just go like that, put a little dot of exactly where the deeper scratches are, and then I can go back after I do like this section to clear up like a lot of the swirl marks in mildly deep scratches. As I'm going on this side, then I can come back over here and hit that again. But what I don't want to do is focus my energy only right there because it will just keep generating heat, and then over a long period of time, you can, maybe call it 3 to 5 minutes. If you stay in one area, you can potentially burn through, because one scratch after you've gone through this polishing process, don't keep going after it, but move on and do more correction somewhere else. And once this cools down, you can even take like the back of your hand and feel it, and it feels cool to the touch. Then you can come back and work on that for 30 seconds to a minute. Then wipe it off, see where you got. If you got it, boom, keep going. But if you still haven't got it, keep going at a different area as it cools down, then come back and work on it again.
Chester says soft paint is why he wants to do a second coat of the advanced graphene coating.
Oh, okay, yeah. So in that case, Chester, because you have soft paint, doing a second coat is probably a good idea. By the way, I just dropped this pad. And we don't clean the floors that have polishers. Shocking. And
we do, just not often.
I'm definitely not going to use this. And I have another one over here.
You don't want to.
Partially why we have two of these. Actually, you want to know the real reason why we have two pads in all of our 3-inch polisher kit or polishing packages? We offer the 3-inch polishing pads in a pair because we used to sell a polishing machine called a Cyclo. And I actually love that machine. Cyclo polisher. It has two 3-inch backing plate heads that work like together. And so we've always offered two because of that exact machine. But at a certain point, we almost offered only one. But for the exact reason of what just happened to me is partially why we offer two, but also having two polishing pads with a smaller polisher is important because you can do more of the car.
Can you do a full car with the advanced graphene kit?
1,000% you can do a full car with the advanced graphene kit. I'm not sure who asked that, but yes, you can. And I would say even like, an SUV, you could do a sedan SUV. I would say probably like, instead of trying to get two cars out of one bottle of ceramic coating, dedicate one bottle to one single car. It goes on very thin, but it's so the material is so durable that it doesn't need to go on super thick. Okay, I'm gonna do the microfiber pad now on this side that we left because I'm still kind of getting my like research sections going to make sure what's gonna not only provide me the most progression of removing damage, but also like what we can essentially make a mirror at the end with the polish. So again, one line of compound, we spread it out, and we're gonna start. So rule of thumb, how hard a compression is going. My base is about this fast. Keeping it flat on the surface. Working my cross-hatching pattern right now. That's one pass. That's 1.5 passes. And that is 2 passes. Just like that. Okay. Need some detail spray. Yeah, so this marred like crazy, which is normal with microfiber. So you can see like the pattern of my polisher. It marred it like crazy. So this is like very soft paint. So that tells me immediately the blue foam is the
Best choice.
one that I need to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go over everything else with the blue foam, and then we'll follow it up with the white polish. So same thing, and I'm just going to keep the one line, and I'm going to do all the rest of this. Okay, spread this out. A little bit goes a long way with this stuff. This is going into my final. All right. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but when I turn this off, I still have this in contact. And then once it's slowed down enough, then I lifted it off. So it's kind of like this, okay? So it's like, I'm finishing my polishing, I turn it off, then when it gets slowing down like that, then I take it off. But you want to make sure it's in contact with the surface. You don't want to like take it off as it's like still running and then turn it off. You want to turn it off while it's on the surface. So now, wipe this off. And really the reason why I ended up doing blue foam is because it was marred so bad that the polish wouldn't fix that anyways. And so I used the blue foam with the compound to fix the, extreme marring from the microfiber pad. And I mean, that looks great. Does that look decent in camera, Chris?
Definitely a little bit more left on the right side.
Yeah. This is extremely soft paint.
Got some deep stuff in here.
Yeah.
Are those scratches or is that pitting?
This is deep scratches. So like essentially what I imagine is like these scratches, because this opens this way, right? So like if Kane is like standing right here, I bet you he stands like this. And when he opens this, it like hits his leg of something that he's wearing, right? And it's consistent with this one area right here. It's kind of like right in here, okay?
It's like the door handle on a car.
Yeah. And what I would say is, like, I could go ahead and try to start like removing all this, but it's like so deep that the scratches are so deep that like there's nothing I could do to fix that. Maybe sanding it, but I think in my mind sanding it is not a great choice because the paint is so soft. You know, I think maybe if I use like 3000 grit sandpaper, it would work. You know, but also the thing that's tough is it's right here on a corner, which all the corners of a motorcycle, a car, everything is the thinnest area where the paint is. So if I go and spend extra time trying to compound on a corner, I run the risk of removing so much paint you start to see the primer. So that's another thing when it comes to polishing is compounding and polishing is like having realistic expectations. Like some cars have such deep scratches that if you just keep going, you're just never gonna get to that point. You have to like I personally would just like leave that as is. And I'm sure Kane knows that that's there. So like the fact that everything else looks amazing, yeah, this might stand out a little bit, but like that's the reality of owning a motorcycle that you ride all summer, you know? So for me, it wouldn't necessarily be like worth trying to go after that extra, you know? But since it's live, I think we can try a little bit more. I'm just gonna do the same process over again. I'm not going to push any harder or anything like that. I'm just gonna go, because again, like this area probably has the most damage right here. Not so much over here. Over here looks amazing, but there is a little bit of a couple marring areas, but I'm just gonna do this. We'll go one more time on this.
David wants to know if a glaze could cover that deeper pitting.
You know, the ones on this saddlebag are so deep that the glaze isn't going to do anything for that. I would say the glaze is more suited for like swirl marks, which is like minor surface scratches. Whereas like super deep scratches, there's not really like, there's not much that I could do to fix it, really, to be honest. But maybe I'll give it like a couple, going a little bit faster over this, and then slow, and then fast a little bit. Move down, go over it one more time, and back, and then I think we should be good. We'll just see if that gives us anything extra. It's a little better, to be honest.
Definitely.
Like I'm 100% good with that. For me personally, it's like it's not as noticeable. I mean, it's still there, but you know, again, don't polish angry. Don't compound angry. I could easily screw that up way worse than what it looks like right now. So it's like not worth trying to like really go after it. In all honesty.
Do you want to talk about the little bit of haze that's there?
Yeah, I grabbed a light so hopefully we can see more of the haze. What's in it?
Oh yeah.
So you should be able to see a little bit of haze in there. And it looks like in circles, like from the actual movement of the polisher. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
You can?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh yeah, I can definitely see it. So that's like,
especially over here.
we could consider that like marring.
Right there is really hazy.
That's because I didn't wipe off all the compound all the way.
Ah, well,
But-
that'll do it too.
You can definitely see it for sure. And to be honest with what you guys probably see on camera is like, it's like a little ring around where the light is. So what we do is we take our pad with our blue foam off and we put the bite pad for the polish on. Okay. Then we take our polish and we have to shake it a little bit. Now, I'm about to give you a polishing tip. Okay? Because now we know that this paint is so soft. So if I run this at too high of a speed, it's not gonna fix the marring on here. And I want you to understand about the speed set is the orbit of your machine. It controls how many orbits are happening on your machine. So if you run it at a really high speed, you get minimal orbits, but you get more motion across the 12 millimeter, right? So an orbit is essentially like when it spins and then it moves and it spins and then it moves to the other side. If you slow your polisher down, you get more movements. It's more like buffing motions like this, okay? Versus when you run it at a high speed, it travels over here and then it orbits, then it travels way over here, orbits, and travels over here and orbits and over here and orbit. When I slow the machine down, I want more orbits to refine the polish better, if that makes any sense. So with this being more soft paint, I need to control my orbit a little bit better, which means I'm gonna bump my speed down. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm actually gonna put this at speed setting number 2. See that? So I was at 4, I'm cutting my speed in half, okay? And now what I can do is I can move even a little bit slower, but I want the orbits to happen more often. We call them Miyagi's. It's like Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off, right? The more Mr. Miyagi wax ons that happen with this machine, the more it can refine the polish to like make it, and especially on soft paint like this. So speed setting 2. Now what I'm doing is I'm just gonna move a little bit slower. And you can see that Sharpie mark on my backing plate, how fast it's moving around. That's controlled by, if I go on the side, it doesn't spin. If it's flat on the surface, it will spin. So I'm trying to get it to move about that fast right there. And that's all I'm looking for is, as that Sharpie mark goes by, am I controlling that? Now when you run the polisher at a higher speed setting, it's gonna spin a lot faster. I'm just gonna go one more side to side. So I kind of did like 2.5 passes. Like that. Whoa. Switching to a fresh towel. Long, fast swipes. Okay, here's the other thing. I'm just gonna tell you this right now, especially on soft paint, but realistically, whenever you're doing a paint correction, if I leave this polish on here and it's hard to remove, instead of pushing harder, which is going to scratch, I wanna keep the weight of my hand. That's why we move fast swipes side to side. If I push too hard, I'm gonna scratch it potentially or mar it with my fingers, and then I have to correct it again. So if this polish dries on here, instead of trying to scrub it off or grind it off, you just take the detail spray, which I always have with me as I'm doing this process, and I give it like a mist like that, which rehydrates the polish that's on the surface and makes it easier to wipe off, because all I'm trying to do is use the weight of my hand as I do this. And the long, fast swipes will remove it. Will break down the product and remove it very easily. That looks crisp, Chris. I gotta be honest. I don't see any marring. Like the definition of my light is so clear. It's like a perfect mirror almost. That's what I'm going for. Does that look pretty good?
Yeah, it looks great.
There is, I will say this, there are some nicks of damage in there that under a microscope light, you can absolutely see.
Yeah, like that.
Yep, like this right here.
Yep.
But when you get to the area there was a big scratch right here that came out. But that's so distinct and so perfect.
Rodney just said, Chris nicely centered the Adams logo on the saddlebag shots.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rodney.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that for me, that is perfect. And again, I think the OCD part of me wants to really go after these scratches. But again, it's like, what's the point? Everything else looks so perfect, you know? But I think, you know, again, just to recap on using this machine, it's doing the test spot really gave me an understanding of, it told me immediately that it was soft paint. And especially when I did the microfiber, I mean, that was awful. I gotta be honest. The blue foam, hands down worked much better. So like for me, I know now that these saddlebags specifically are soft paint. Okay. I don't know about the gas tank to get an understanding of what that paint's like. You know, so if I go and I start doing the blue foam with the blue compound and it's like not correcting as well, then I know I can bump up to the microfiber. But if I do the blue foam and the blue compound on that and it still corrects it really good, then I know that's like the process I'm going to essentially do on everything, you know? So, so I'll show you. What time is it, Chris?
205.
2:05? Okay, I got like 10 minutes. I just wanted to show you, this is kind of important. I think for anybody that has the micro polisher, this could be a good little like session on this polisher. Because, you know, I think there's something to be said about this polisher, and I'd say probably the biggest like complaint we get about this is everyone says, oh, that thing just stalls. It doesn't have enough power. It's not really the way it works, you know? So if you think about a figure skater, right? When you get nice and the diameter of your spin gets wider, the slower you move, okay? The tighter you get, the faster you're moving. Same goes with these polishers. This is the smallest backing plate. This is the next smallest. And then you have the 5.5 inch backing or 5-inch backing plate that comes in the 15 millimeter polisher. So like the bigger head of the backing plate of the polisher, it takes longer for one rotation to go around. That's why generally those polishers have more power, because it can like power through that. But the thing about it is when you have a smaller backing plate like this, because this is going to spin so fast, you do not need to push hard. Okay, so less pressure is better on this. And if you get the technique right, if you don't push as hard, it's not going to stall and it's still going to correct in the way that you need it to correct. Okay, so don't get caught up with needing to push hard on any of these polishers. Again, it's the rule of thumb, but I would say like on this one, it's like the rule of thumb divided by 2. Like cut that in half. You don't need to push as hard on this mini polisher as you do on any of the other polishers. Okay, the movement is what's really doing a lot more of the work. So again, because we did the mini on the top and it corrected it perfect, we'll go ahead and see how much damage we got in some of these other areas. So here we go. This is like pretty consistent with what it was before. Can you see that? I'm just like right here.
I know. Do it there. Yep.
See like the swirl marks and the damage? So because I'm working on the same material, I'm going to use the same process with the blue foam.
Chester says, for someone who's never polished or corrected, what polisher would you recommend?
If someone's never polished or corrected, I'm going to answer that question with a question to Chester. Okay? My question for you, Chester, is what size of car are you working on? So this is for you, like at your house, and you're working on cars. Just tell me what's like. Do you have, an Audi S4, an Audi A7? Do you have a Volkswagen Atlas? Do you have a Tacoma? I personally would recommend this mini polisher. This one right here. The 12 millimeter. Obviously I recommend the SK Pro Mini because it's the most robust polisher and like quality polisher we have, but you could also get away with the first gen polisher, which is just a swirl killer 12 millimeter mini. That's it's a black polisher. Either one of those I think is great for you. And I think part of it is when we talk about polishing cars, like, right, if you're doing this at home on your own personal car, you're not a professional detailer, so you have no deadlines. So this is not like you need to finish it on a Saturday kind of thing. You need to finish it in 2 days. You need to finish it in 1 day. When you're doing this as a DIY in your garage or your driveway, you don't have to finish the car in one sitting. Like you could do a fender and a door. Finish that, ceramic coat it, and then 2 days later, if the car isn't dirty or been driven, then do the back door and like the rear fender under the like rails of your bed, right? You can like do this in sections, and over I don't know, call it a week or 2 weeks, you can then have your full car polished and ceramic coated. Okay, so don't get so caught up with like, oh, I got to finish this today. That's partially why like I mentioned that, because that polisher has a smaller head, so like it's going to take you longer because it's not covering as much of a surface area. But what that polisher will get you is the ability to polish big panels, but also like your A pillar or your piano black B pillars, or areas that the bigger polisher just can't fit into.
Like smaller curved areas.
Smaller curved areas, but like here's the thing, if you have a square body truck, not necessarily talking specifically to Chester, but like say somebody has a 1973 square body truck, like a C10 square body from Chevy, or like a F100 type of car of like a Ford. Those have huge flat panels, so like the 15 millimeter is a better option for that car because you can be more efficient with your time, but there's not as many small areas that you have to fit that polisher into. A Porsche, if you own a Porsche, the 12 millimeter mini polisher is better.
I think there's some confusion about whether this polisher with the cord is a different polisher than the one with the battery, or is, so you want to just explain that?
Oh, okay. You're talking about the micro specifically. Yeah. So this is the SK Pro micro polisher. Okay. We call it a micro because it's the smallest of all of our polishers, but essentially I have this. I'll even show you the packaging. I have this thing right here. Let me see if I can find what it normally looks like. I think these are all dead, and this is why I grabbed this thing. But essentially, this cord adapter. So the SK Pro Micro comes with 2 of these batteries. So like these batteries go in, and then, it's charged, okay? So this battery goes in, and I can use this. It probably runs for, I don't know, I think it says on the packaging 45 minutes, but let's be honest, it's probably more like 30 minutes. I'm not trying to like be a Debbie Downer about our batteries, but every time something is advertised as like 45 minutes, it lasts 30 minutes. So this is a battery powered polisher. So like the reason why we add 2 batteries into this is like one can be charging while you're using this one. Okay. But if you're in a detailing shop or you're using this like all kinds, like, and I'll be 100% honest, I know people that have these polishers for not even polishing vehicles. Like it's like hobby type stuff. Like they have antiques and they use this to polish antiques. I use this personally to polish my golf clubs. Okay, I do this full process on my golf clubs, especially my driver, because it's clear coated paint over the top of carbon fiber, and like it just gets scratched from like putting the head cover on, taking it off. So I use this, and all my clubs look brand new, right? So it's just because I'm a psycho about it, but
it's not a different polisher.
it's not a different polisher. You can buy this separately. This is called the SK Micro Polisher 20-foot power cord adapter. That is a mouthful.
Us with our very
Yeah.
literal names.
So essentially, like, if you're somebody that you need to run this polisher for a longer period of time, like the battery comes out, and you can just connect this the right way, by the way. And now it's corded so it can run, you know, for, like I said before, you can run it until you don't pay your electricity bill. So now, again, we're working on like a much smaller section, so I really don't need a lot of this. I'm probably just gonna give it like 3 not very uniform dots, right? So it's just, you can tell there's not very much on there.
Shout out to Adams Polishes Scottsdale. They say we love our AP media team.
Oh,
Thank you too, Dan.
dude, shout out to Adams Polishes Scottsdale. By the way, if you live in Scottsdale or the surrounding area, we have a store off Shea Boulevard on the west side in the shopping center. There's cold beers and burgers, there's Starbucks, there's Snooze, there's PJ Superstore, which is why I like to go there. But there's an Adams Polishes retail location there that has everything that you need there. Everything from all of these polishing kits. They have all the washing stuff you need, everything. And they have a station where you can do paint correction. It's personal. Like you can Scottsdale location and try this on a panel they have laid out. Also, they have the same thing in Anaheim. So there's a store in Anaheim. I think it's pretty close to Disneyland and Newport Beach. But you can go there too and try all this stuff. But everything you need Adams Polishes at all those retail locations.
Does the power cord adapter work on the first gen micro? Sure.
Does the power cord adapter work on the micro? Who asked that? Let me just say that. What?
David Boyce.
David Boyce. Email joe@adamspolishes.com and I will get you your answer. I need to contact I think it's Phil, and Phil could tell me that answer. I don't personally know that right now, but I will absolutely find out. So just email me, joe@adamspolishes.com, and say, hey, Joe, I asked this on the live. Does the power cord adapter work on the first gen micro? I think it does, but I just want to make sure. Okay?
Trevor Johnson says we tried the adapter with the 1.0 and it didn't work.
Trevor Johnson, who is an awesome detailer who detailers farm equipment and semi trucks, close to Sterling, Colorado. He's either in Sterling or close to Sterling. He tried it with the first gen. He said it didn't work. So there you go. That might be your answer. Okay.
Crowdsourcing the answers here.
Yeah, I like that. Listen, we're a community. We're all working together. This is not like. Listen, the Adams Polishes Live is not a dictatorship. All right. It's not me telling you what to do. Okay, so in this case, I was talking about how fast it spins. I could run it on 4, but I like to run it at 3. Okay, that's exactly half of what the speed settings are. So I'm going to run it at 3. Again, I don't need to push super hard. I want to let the polisher do the work. Okay, the one thing I love about our micro polisher, there's other ones on the market. The one thing I love about our micro polisher is it's exactly like our other polishers. You pull the trigger and you can lock it in. Okay, so again, the pressure I need is about half of the rule of thumb. Okay, so pull the trigger, lock it in, and I can move a little bit faster with this polisher. And it died. I think this power adapter is old, so it could be defective, to be honest with you. I didn't pull it out of that box. Okay, that's more than enough. That I actually probably, as I move on, I would probably end up bumping the setting down to setting 2. That just felt really, really fast. So this is setting 3. I'd probably move it to 2, like that. That feels better to me. I can control my.
What do you mean by feels better? Feels better?
The reason why I say it feels better is if you remember when I was polishing up here, I was really watching like how fast the backing plate is spinning. And when I had it setting 3, it was spinning so fast it was like hard to control. I don't want it spinning super, super fast. I want like the backing plate to be going around like this. So if I put this on here and you watch, like you can kind of see the backing plate is moving, it's rotating a little bit slower, but the orbit is still working. When I put it at 3, it was just like way too much, way too fast. So having it at setting 2 felt, for me personally, felt much better. I also, one thing I want you guys to understand is that, I've said this before, but like faster doesn't always mean better when it comes to polishing. I want more orbits than I do speed. The orbits, there's like, if you think about it, and actually I took a class at Rupes, which is like, they're an Italian-made polishing. I mean, they're like a resurfacing company is what I would call it. Like they make sanders, they make all kinds of stuff, but they're kind of like top tier as far as polishers in our industry. We sell them here. We're a authorized dealer. And I took, there was a 3-day, it was sanding, rotary, and DA class. They do like a full class. I mean, amazing. Like really, really great class. And there's just, the information is insane. Like they have techniques that they've taught, but they have like the data to prove why you do that technique, you know? So I think they're just, that class was amazing, but polishers thing people probably heard. Anyways, I guess where I'll start from is like, I took a 3-day sanding, polishing, and rotary class at Rupes, and Jason Rose was the instructor, and he's like the god of polishing in our industry. And he said one of the common misconceptions about these machines, especially like a DA, is that like the speed means it like moves faster, making it more effective. But realistically, what he said is the speed essentially, I talked about this earlier, the speed controls how many orbits are happening on your polisher. And the more orbits that happen, the more effective that you can be with it. But if you want the polisher to travel from side to side as its orbit, like a little bit faster to like get that movement going across the surface of the scratches, then you can start bumping the speed up to cut a little bit more. But he said like he generally doesn't, there's only very specific times when he's running any polisher at the highest setting. He kind of stays middle of the road, but he said instead of going up, he ends up going more down to get more orbits on his machine going. So like with the Mini, I was talking about this earlier, like the Mini is a much smaller head. So like the movement's happening a lot faster. It's a tighter orbit. It's a tighter rotation. So for me, I think a lot of people think that you run at a lower speed, it's going to stall. It doesn't. Like 3 for me was too fast. 3 felt like setting 5 on the 12 millimeter micro. Speed 2 on the micro polisher felt like speed 4 on the 12 millimeter Mini. So what I'm noticing is that there's definitely marring. And there's some sections I didn't even like go over, which is pretty awful. But it's fine. That looks very good. I mean, it corrected really, really good. I think the one thing that I got a feel for as I was doing that is that setting 3 was the wrong setting. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go over that one more time. And instead of using speed setting 3, I'm going to use speed setting 2. And I'm just going to let my hand movement go a little bit slower so I can have more orbits going over that area. So I have it on speed setting 2. Spread this out a little bit. Speed setting 2. Pull the trigger, lock it in. Now what I can do, when I hear the polisher start working, that's perfect. I can now move a little bit slower. That is perfect. How fast that's rotating is exactly what I want it to do. Now I'll go back. I'm going to kind of treat this as going back and forth 4 times is 1 pass. That would, or maybe going back and forth twice is 1 pass. So I'm going into, no, I want to go over it 4 times. So I've essentially done, that's 3 times back and forth. This will be 4. Just do it one more time, moving a little bit slower. I'm going to go back. And I think that's going to be pretty good right there. Like that. Set this aside. Chris, I'm so unorganized. Terrible.
Dan says this with the plug-in adapter, it's has a little more run than running with the battery, so that's probably why Joe's pumping the speed down.
Yeah, that could be why. I mean, I don't know. I generally run it at 3 or 2 most of the time, I'd say. Okay, we need my light. Oh yeah, there's the marring. Let's go. That's okay. I corrected way more, but there's a little bit more marring present, which I think is fine. Sorry, Chris. Can you see that marring?
Yep.
It's so obvious. Again, like softest paint in the history of the world. This is almost as soft as new GM paint. GM, dude, like GM, Chevy Silverado, like the 1500, like the new ones, the paint is so soft. That's like that's a question we get often is like, what do you do for black GM paint? It's like, well, you need to run your polisher at a slower setting. So I'm going to switch to the white. I'm going to finish this off and then we'll jump off the live because Chris and I have a giveaway that we need to finish filming that you guys are going to love, which should be coming up live here pretty soon. They're probably waiting on me to finish the live, to finish that giveaway video. So you guys are preventing us from getting that video out. Just kidding. Okay. Now, like I did on the 12 millimeter mini, I'm going to bump this to 1 now. And I can go just like a little bit slower. That was probably everybody's favorite part of the live when I wasn't talking. Definitely Chris's favorite part. Ready?
Yep.
Ooh, there's still some marring in there. So probably what that means for me is I need to be a little more aggressive with the I need to be a little bit more aggressive with the like I probably would bump to go back to speed setting 2 on the micro polisher. The thing about soft paint is it's like really finicky. So, you know, there's times where you just have to, you kind of have to adjust your technique. I would say the less of the variable that you change, the better. So like in this case, I probably do the same thing, but I would just bump up to speed setting 2. I was at speed setting 1, I would bump up to speed setting 2 to fix that, which I'm going to do here in a second. But we do have to jump off because we got to get going. But yeah, I hope today was helpful. I know it's kind of a interesting topic. I didn't get to as much as I wanted to because I was really explaining the process of paint correction a little bit more. And just so you know, like the paint correction stuff, we have a lot of videos on our YouTube channel for that. So Adam's Polishes Polishing 101. I'd say that's like the most in-depth polishing video we've ever done. And that's Adam in the video explaining essentially everything I just talked to you about. But the thing I love about that video is we talk about paint correction on a car that is absolutely destroyed. It was a Range Rover that, I mean, you know, 10 years of going through a drive-through car wash. And then we talk about a car that had, I want to say it had like 19 miles on it. So a brand new car just off the lot. Definitely not perfect. We talk about correcting that. And then we also talk about an original paint, lacquer paint car in that video. So like I'd say like as a whole, that's one of the best polishing videos to watch, which is Adam's Polishes Polishing 101. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, treating your micro polisher similar to how you treat your other polishers, the technique and like the feel for like the speed settings and like controlling your orbits and doing all those little things is really going to make it more effective. So yeah, I hope today was helpful, at least a little bit. If anything, like obviously we were working on a motorcycle, but I'd almost say this was the video better suited for how to paint correct soft paint, you know, because this paint was really soft. So just realize probably the most important thing, do a test area before you start to get a sense of what you need to do and what you need to do to the whole vehicle before you just jump into it. So yeah, thank you guys for the questions. I hope today was helpful, and I'm not sure what we have going on next week. If you guys have any suggestions, comment on this video after it's posted to our YouTube channel. Just give me some suggestions, and yeah, I want to make sure you guys are getting the answers that you need for the stuff that you are working on at home. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.